Hey Greg, how you doing? All right, let's go and take a look. I just want to address your writing first. I have a good idea of how I want the vector illustration to look when I'm finished. That's great. I mean, that's a fantastic attribute for a designer is to be able to envision the finished project. That's big. Uh, I picked that three geographical locations that could design posters somewhat similar to one another. That's something I would try to shoot for as much variety as possible. I get it. I get that in this. You've got this, and you're envisioning this location. So I understand how these, you would say that these would be designed similar to one another. I'm a trial and error person. I want to address this as well. I'm a trial and error person, so with designing, so I'll have to get a better idea after I manipulate a few designs digitally. I look forward to the feedback. That's a little bit backwards, and I understand that that's a general workflow for a lot of students is to get in there and start working digitally and start brewing up some ideas, etc. What we want to do is we want to kind of mimic an actual studio setting, Greg. And by that I mean once in a studio, once you give your sketch to your creative director or your art director, you're locked in. Okay, so you're not gonna, unless you change your concept and really, you know, address this with the creative director or art director, you would pretty much be held accountable to the work being very similar, if not identical, to your sketches. So what you want to do is you want to work out your ideas before you start, instead of starting to develop your ideas on the computer. You see what I'm saying? And the reason that's relevant is because that's the studio setting. That's how it works. Okay, the sketches come first. Your sketches should depict a very high degree of realism and then and intent. Okay, so that when your creative director says, okay, pursue this direction, they would expect that direction to be pursued. So you shouldn't have any surprises. So in other words, if you come in Tuesday and your creative director says, okay, pursue this direction, and then you come in Friday and you show them that that direction that you've decided to pursue has changed considerably, it's not going to ring well with your creative director, your art director. Okay, I just want to give you some kind of studio settings, kind of draw a connection between what we're doing in class and how it relates to a real life setting. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at the work. Now, you've got your mind maps. That's fantastic. Now, something you in your writing here I want to address. Oh, by the way, don't forget in your writing, you want to define your target audience. It's really important. You want to define that target audience as specifically as you possibly can. Okay, it's really important, and I've said this in a few of the other critiques in this thread, that any graphic design project can really be determined. The success of any graphic design project can be determined by its ability to communicate with the intended target audience. Okay, and of course we communicate much differently than to children or young adults than we do to adults or professional adults. You see what I'm saying? So you really want to determine what that target audience is and use that information to assist you in assembling the communicated message. Okay, so we have Rockies, we have the Caribbean, and we have the Mojave. And that's great. So each of the sketches, I think, of your sketches, I think that Rocky Mountains and Caribbean provide the most engagement. I think this is quite interesting here. This doesn't really, like, how do you draw sand? You see what I'm saying? That's a tough. How do you illustrate sand? That's a tough one. Um, so think about that. Decorative font, okay. Um, and then in these, you've got a script font here. You want to label that script font, and then any other font that would be decorative. So any sans serif or serif, you might go ahead and label that. Just point an arrow right there, say sans serif font, possibly universe or whatever. Um, okay, so those are some things that I want you to include in your final. Just go ahead and define the typeface, and then don't forget to define that target audience as well. Um, Then I think we could use a little bit more written description as we go over it and we see uh, include the purpose of the poster by stating its intent, blah, blah, blah. Go ahead and read that. I don't mean blah, 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 like it's not important. It's very important. I just don't want to have to read all the way through it. And I know you don't want me to either. So part one research, definitely review that paragraph right there and make sure that you include everything here. And go all the way down to the bottom. Make sure you're not missing any requirements. And then let's get that target audience defined. All right. Now, as far as moving forward goes, one thing that kind of I've got a little concern about is one of the comments made right here. I will likely lean towards using a vectorized version of the largest diving image below. So are you saying that you're going to vectorize this by putting in an Illustrator and doing a live trace? If that's the case, no can do. This is manual illustration, okay? So we don't want to use any kind of one-click fixes here, so to speak. All right, so no live trace. Want to manually illustrate everything. Okay, so I just want to make sure. I'm not saying that that's what's your intent. I'm saying I'm not sure, so we want to make sure that we rule that out. Okay, as far as moving forward, go ahead and with your sketches. Good job including your mind maps. This is fantastic. Really good job here. As far as intent and which way you want to move forward, I'm going to leave that up to you. I would say this one I would stay away from. It doesn't seem to be as engaging as the other two. But you please feel free to choose the direction you feel has the most potential. And of course, if you have any questions whatsoever, please let me know. All right, great job. Thank you.